payday. Your creatures has died. I'm sure you're shedding a tear right now as you hire the next 3. Later, you may also be able to resurrect these creatures.
What's one dead creature if it gets one closer to the goal of freeing me? Come on! Free me already, you rotten maggots!
Gold vein is nearly exhausted.
payday.
The cunning evil had placed the first traps. This would make it much harder for the greedy dwarves to steal the gold from the treasury or even destroy the dungeon heart itself. The dwarves were defeated for the time being. Satisfied, the essence of absolute evil rubbed something together that could perhaps pass for two hands together. The all-destroying evil had conquered the exit. This left the way to the surface open for its troops. Hey, look, I realize you really get a kick out of slapping your creatures, but they're not really the enemy here. Maybe you should reassess your priorities. The absolute evil's creatures blinked a little as they stepped into the glaring light of the sun. Finally, they could lay waste not only to the boring corridors of the dungeon, but also to the lush green meadows of the overworld. Enemies are in the dungeon. Ding dong, it's payday. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. Enemies have entered the dungeon. The horrific evil had destroyed a camp in the overworld. The defeated heroes ran away crying and tried to entrench themselves behind even higher walls. Your little snots have completely mined out a gold vein. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. Enemies have entered the dungeon. Your creatures have destroyed a cage.
It's payday.
A new area of the dungeon has been discovered. Your enemies are in the dungeon. The vile evil had destroyed another of the heroes' camps. Screaming at the top of their voices, the survivors took to their heels. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay.
Enemies have entered the dungeon.
A new area of the dungeon has been discovered. Your enemies are in the dungeon. A new area of the dungeon has been discovered. A gold vein has been mined out. Your army has just decreased in size due to death.
Payday.
Enemies have entered the dungeon.
Enemies have entered the dungeon.
One of your creatures has bit the dust. It's payday. Enemies have entered the dungeon. You have destroyed a cage.
I have to protect the blueprint, Snookums. Otherwise, the orcs will eventually end up building some decent machinery here. Well then, keep your chin up, Doodles.
Brynhild, what are you doing? I thought your dwarfs could easily handle a few orcs.
Problems, brother mine? Oh, what a shame. I had actually already planned on making myself a tea set out of dwarf skulls.
Talia, your evilness truly knows no bounds. These dwarfs are part of the Alliance of Good. You were also once part of that alliance.
The path to the dwarves' oversized hammer lay open. The trembling heroes prepared themselves for the final battle. One of your creatures has died. The dwarven equipment spectacularly spectacularly went up in flames, which was rather odd, as the creatures had only been hitting the thing with their weapons. But fine, perhaps Horde weapons were made of flint. Yet the distraction provided by the dwarven intervention had shifted the destruction-loving evil's focus long enough for Talia and her stepbrother Tristan to disappear into the distance. With an imaginary sigh, the staggering evil took one last look around before setting off in pursuit. The path led to the Hellwoods, an eerie place claimed by the demonic creatures of the underworld. The Hellwoods. Talia was taken ever deeper into the lands by her stepbrother Tristan. They passed through the Hellwoods, a hotbed of demons. In the underground beneath the Hellwoods, Talia's stepbrother Tristan was tampering with the remains of a dungeon long thought forgotten. But the demonic evil's henchmen were hard on his heels and were also slogging their way through the underground. Tristan had no choice but to retreat.
My brothers! In your eyes I see the same fear that would lead me to despair. The day may come when the...
Tristan, you good-for-nothing imbecile! Can't you just shut up for once? Or finally come up with a different speech? That's so... Hey! Are those my armies of evil? Here! Get me out of here so I can personally kick my stepbrother's butt! Go ahead! Finish them off! Give it to them! Push away past the expiry date cake, right in their faces!
Never! The power of magic flows through me! A magic barrier will keep those creatures at bay!
It seemed that Tristan did actually have some small knowledge of magic. His barrier was impenetrable to conventional attacks. Where magic was concerned, however, things looked just a little different. The spellbook perusing evil quickly set about tackling this problem underground. Before the mana-craving evil could resort to magic, it would first have to take care of the demons. It made perfect sense to have a vortex built to house demonic creatures. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. Some parts of the underground were saturated with mana. Once dug up, this could be used to cast spells. The mana-addicted evil wanted to try this out as soon as possible. The room-building evil had had a vortex built. There, hired demons found shelter and a place to wait until they could be resurrected at the cost of evilness after an unforeseen demise. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. Area of the dungeon has been discovered.
Stand fast, men! There may come a day when courage fails us, but it is not this day. On this day we fight! By all that you hold dear on this good earth, I call you to stand firm! Brothers of the kingdom! Let us lay waste to the dungeon! Attack!
Ah, you stole that speech. I've heard something very similar to that before.
That's beside the point. Those words inspired my men. The pen is mightier than the sword.
But weaker than a horde battle axe. It's just too bad that I can't be there to watch the show because I'm stuck in your stupid cage.
Enemies have entered the dungeon.
Doors in the dungeon not only reduce drafts, but could also stop heroes and other enemies in their tracks for a short time. They also increase the efficiency of rooms. It therefore made sense to have a door to close off a production room. A new area of the dungeon has been discovered.
There are enemies in your dungeon. It's payday.
The never went to hogwash evil's little snot had built an arcanium. Should one of these droll little workers manage to find the time, mana would from now on be produced here. A gold vein is almost exhausted. A little snot set about generating mana in the Arcanium to make it available to the spell-wielding evil. A first door now adorned the dungeon. The grandiose evil not only used it to increase the efficiency of rooms or to stop enemies for a short time, but it could also lock doors to seal off areas for its subordinates. The gallant evil had now gained access to a number of spells. Create resources, for example, allowed toolboxes or gobblers to quickly be created as if out of thin air. In keeping with his childlike disposition, the amused evil immediately tried this out. The childish evil's eyes glowed with joy as it successfully used the Create Resources spell. This would allow stocks to be filled even without decent production. Your little snots have completely mined out a gold vein.
There are enemies in your dungeon.
Your little snots have completely mined out a gold vein. Ding dong, it's payday. A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. Enemies are in the dungeon. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay. A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. Payday. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. Your enemies are in the dungeon. Ding dong, it's payday. Area of the dungeon has been discovered. The spoiled evil had discovered a few stray demons who were all too willing to join his dark army. Of all things, these were stuck in a rather awkward position. The perplexed evil pondered how to go about it.
Hey, Tristan, favorite, because only, stepbrother, see my troops marching over there? I think they're gonna make short work of you.
Don't get your hopes up too soon, stepsister. My barrier and my men will stop them. We got what we wanted here, and we'll soon be on the road again.
Creatures, get me the hell out of here already! Come on, get a move on! Save me, free me, sign petitions demanding my release!
The ingenious evil had managed to return the scattered demons safely back to the dungeon by means of a spell. An arcane tear had appeared very close to the absurd evil's armies. These magical anomalies were not uncommon in the area and promised great power to those who knew how to use them. The creatures knew but one way to deal with these. The corrupting evil had captured an arcane tear. New power flowed through it, giving it the ability to now cast the meteor rain spell. As luck would have it, there was a group of heroes nearby who made worthy targets. The arcane tear's power could now be used by the spell-casting evil. You have the power of the arcane tears had been activated. Spells were immediately available again and were now even more powerful.
Talia, I still can't believe you really did all that. Weren't we like family to you?
I was constantly insulted and humiliated. Does that sound like...
The merciless evil's army had reached the magical barrier. A spell would sweep it away. A new era. While the Cruciatus intoning evil was making its way through the protective barrier, Talia and Tristan continued upon their way.
Tristan, beloved brother, would you be so kind as to open this cage door for me? There's no need for us to argue.
Step-brother, and I simply cannot forgive you for slaying our foster father. Not to mention half of the good people of the country.
Only half? Ha! I mean, all that just kind of happened. I don't know how exactly it could all go so wrong either.
You put Talos' head on a spear!
He bloody well deserved it! Time and again, I had to suffer insults from him and his henchmen simply because of my origins, as if all dark elves were evil.
You killed hundreds of heroes, slew Father's companions, and put Father's head on a spear!
They made me do it. It's society's fault. Tristan, I finally understand. I behaved poorly. If you let me out now, I vow to do better.
Really?
Of course not, you imbecile. I'd give you a wedgie worse than I ever gave you in our entire childhood. One you'd still be telling your grandchildren about, provided you can still have children and grandchildren at all afterwards.
The Arcane Chair's power could now be used again. The Arcane Chair's power permeated the land. Spells were now even more powerful.
Talia, I wish you would change your ways. Remember back when we were children and would play together by the creek?
And you threw me in?
You dropped a bee's nest on my head first.
Oh, that's right. I remember the way your head swelled up like a melon.
And again, the power of the Arcane Tears stood available. The Arcane Tear's power could now be used again. The spell-wielding evil had seized an arcane tear. The newfound magic allowed it to now use a spell to summon the Prince of Hell. payday. The fanatic evil's armies reached another magical barrier.
There's my army. Time for you to die, stepbrother. Go, my creatures! Grab them, run them down, rub hot chili sauce in their eyes, and get me out of this damn cage!
My brothers! In your eyes, I see...
You're not gonna repeat that same old crap again, are you? Are you?
Men! Stop them! Talia, you have to move on.
The ice-in-its-drink-loving Evil's armies had defeated Tristan's pathetic defenders. Evil's creatures were filled with jubilation, but the disembodied essence of Evil was not yet in the mood to celebrate, for Tristan himself had escaped and still had Talia with him. The lingering without physical form Evil pretended to sigh and once again took up pursuit. The plains of Strotham. The absolute evil continued its efforts to free Talia. The trail led it to the vicinity of the city of Strotham, which was once besieged by undead.
These sequences with me in a cage are being stretched out far too long here. Can't we talk this out somehow? Maybe rock, scissors, paper, like in the old days?
You know I always go for the good old rock. But speaking of stones, I will soon have all the stones of Finichu together. And then...
Nobody gives a damn about your stupid marbles, you dumbass.
While Talia was engrossed in an animated discussion with her stepbrother, the brain-eating Evil was already attempting a, more or less, fruitless attempt to free her. Since undead simply resurrected somewhat later in the graveyard after their demise, an unsuccessful onslaught was no great tragedy. Admittedly, the creature-wasting Evil probably never took the loss of subordinates too tragically in the first place. But back to the subject at hand. Fortunately, there were ancient mausoleums in the vicinity, which were home to powerful undead and could provide a significant supply of reinforcements. The map-studying Evil eagerly took notes.
See that, Tristan? My armies will free me. Go on, you undead. Knock them down. Eat their brains. I don't know, just do something.
A temple with a sacrificial pit would need to be built before the merciless evil's undead creatures could summon more minions. Quickly, the construction-obsessed evil set about doing just that.